csu.edu/visit Hazleton.
A kind word, a helping hand, being there when people need us most. Our healthcare team always gives our community their best. Merging with Lehigh Valley Health Network opens even more possibilities for all of us. More resources, specialized medical expertise, nationally recognized healthcare right here in our community. Together we can move medicine forward. The Greater Hazleton Health Alliance is now Lehigh Valley Health Network. Lehigh Valley Health Network, a passion for better medicine.
If you haven't found the perfect fishing getaway, you haven't been to Captain's Cove. Located on Henderson Harbor in upstate New York, Captain's Cove offers a variety of accommodations to please just about anyone. The motel, also located on the harbor, offers a magnificent view. Enjoy free morning coffee, air-conditioned rooms, cable TV, and HBO. The cottage can accommodate up to 8 people with 3 bedrooms, a complete kitchen, washer, dryer, 2 full baths, air conditioning, an outside grill, and picnic table. Call us today for rates and information at 1-800-824-FISH.
WYLN, your first choice for locally produced shows like Chef Lou, Jentastic Sweets, Off the Beaten Path, The Storm, and more. Find out how you can stretch your advertising dollars and be a part of the WYLN TV lineup. Call 570-459-1869, extension 1302. WYLN, we're your local network.
Welcome back to The Storm. I'm excited about today's show because I have 2 fabulous moms who really know a lot about education. Sitting directly across from me, I have Casey Herseem.
Real quiet.
And Casey, why don't you tell us where you're from and a little bit about your background in terms of education?
Sure, Tiffany. I am originally from New Jersey, but came here by way of Montana. I spent a few years out there. I was loving Montana, but when I had my first daughter, my mom said, you better bring my grandbaby back to the East Coast.
Right.
So we wound up in Hazleton, and I started working at a child care center down in the valley and met some fabulous people. Really loved the work, and it inspired me to go get my master's degree in early childhood education.
Which is fantastic, and I'm so excited that you're here, not only in the capacity of a mom, but someone who also really understands education. You're not the only one, because sitting next to me, I have Melanie, right? Melanie.
Yes.
Oh, I practiced it twice too. Melanie Scuba. And Melanie, tell us about your background.
Oh, thank you. Well, I came up here originally from Texas when my husband and I moved here, and I have district because education is very important. I believe it's the key to opportunity.
Well, and I really respect and appreciate your willingness for both of you to come on the show and discuss issues, because, you know, sometimes issues related to school, especially when our mom hat is on, you know, we all can get a bit, and dad hat, we can get a bit passionate, we can get a bit fiery, and it's only because we all care. But care can come out in different ways. There's been a lot of major issues that have come up lately, certainly in the Hazleton area school district, and I appreciate you both coming on to share how we could possibly approach things in a new and improved way. You have perspectives from outside the area, maybe some findings we could bring into the area. So thank you for coming on the show. I wanted to start by making sure that we explain to the audience what the term PAC is, because we all know the Parent-Teacher Association, the PTA, but there's been this forming of this organization called PAC, if you could speak to it.
Sure. So I guess it was about a year and a half ago when, it was soon after Newtown actually, when a couple of parents and I sat down and talked about how we can get better communication about what's going on in our schools. We inquired at the district level. We had a meeting with Mr. Basic. He told us that, you know, there's this parent involvement policy that's approved by the board, and it wasn't active at the time. So the policy was written, but there wasn't an active community or committee at that point. So he had said, start using your contacts. We'll try and get 2 representatives from each school. And then once Dr. Butler came on board, it was right before he got to our district, that he would sort of spearhead that for us. So we wound up reaching out to all different schools, and we were able to fill most of the spots for 2 representatives from each school, and we started about a year ago, last April.
So the PAC is Parents Advisory Committee, and it's this group of parental advisors based on this language that was in the bylaws, board policies that was formed. Okay. Now, I want to make sure we understand the differences between what the PAC's role would be and the PTA role would be, because there is some confusion. There's been some articles in the newspaper recently that had some statements in it that got some people ruffled, and I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to clarify. So would you like to tackle that, the differences?
Well, thank you. But with PTA, they are involved in the students' education day to day in the individual schools. It is not simply as was reported in the newspaper, and I have to say that we found that very offensive. As PTA contributors, I was horrified that I saw that in the newspaper. It was something like cupcakes and lollipops, right. Which is highly offensive. Okay. You know, the PTA are these dedicated mom and dads who go in every day. They do the homeroom mom and dads. They do the field trips. They do the yearbooks. They organize things for our children that we could never simply do that alone if it was not for a larger group. And I'm going to be making some bake sales for items for the Valley Community Fair this weekend. So I particularly found that offensive because it's one way that I can contribute. Sure. And for Parent Advisory Committee, the big difference is the PTA is welcome to ours as we are welcome to their meeting, but we do have the representatives from every school. So as opposed to tackling the issues at Valley or Arthur Street or the 9th grade center or the STEM school, if everyone had an active PTA, we're able to bring the representatives together at one table in one room. And if this school has a policy or something that they're questioning or an issue or anything going on, that parent can bring it up as a representative of that school and hear the input from every other school represented there, as well as the administration and the approved board liaisons.
Well, that's interesting. So basically this organization, when you're meeting with members of the Hazleton Area School Board, you're speaking based on input from all of these parents of all these different schools and having representation.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't understand that fully as well. So I could see that's already a big, though, difference.
It is, and it's wonderful to hear the voices from across the district. This is a huge district with a very varied population. So it's important that everybody's heard. And recently we've been trying to get more of our multicultural parents involved and have reached out, and we've had some success. And so we're very thrilled about that.
Well, I heard about a week or so ago, maybe a little longer, I might be off slightly, but that there was some question as whether the PAC would be allowed to exist or coexist with the PTA. So perhaps you can help me understand that.
Absolutely.
At this point, throughout the course of some research on, I believe it was some board members, administrators, as they were researching, they realized that the PAC was not officially board approved. So the parent involvement policy was approved, but the actual team, once we had it formed, was never put to a formal board vote.
Do they get to vote for the team? I'm just trying to understand it. It's not a critique. So they have the right to vote for...
It does seem that way,
okay.
Yes. I know that recently a student advisory committee was formed, and that was definitely put to a board vote. So,
do you have a time frame as to when this board vote is anticipated?
We have reached out to one of our board liaisons and asked that it be discussed to please put it on the agenda.
Seems to me, as someone who admittedly, again, I respect what the PTA is doing, I respect what the PAC's doing. I am not I don't get heavily involved in the school because I'm doing other things, and so I do respect it, and I'm a horrible baker and cook anyway. They don't want my stuff. So, but all that being said, why would there be a delay, though? To me, I'm just trying to understand. It seems to me like it's a positive thing to have this organization representative of all these different schools, that all you want to do is try to help make things better and improve communication. What's the time? Why do we have to take so long to decide on this?
Well, I think that the board is being very cautious about making sure that all members of our community are being heard. I know that There was discussion about Dr. Butler getting together with PTA presidents and PAC members and trying to come forward with a good solution as to how we can all move forward together and what the best method to do that would be. So I think that they're doing their research.
Okay, so you don't think it's a bad thing necessarily that it's taken a while then?
I think that it's important to do the research, absolutely.
Okay, with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on The Storm. Welcome back to The Storm. Today we're talking about really important stuff, parents being engaged and what's happening with their children and in the schools, and the possibility of having a separate additional entity beyond the PTA, having this organization called the PAC. Okay, so you delineated the two organizations, which I appreciate. Let's talk about what some of the top issues of concern would be for the PAC, things you really want to tackle that you think maybe haven't been tackled well enough to date.
Sure. Well, we've had several issues that have been brought to the committee, one of which was the behavior grades, because we found out that in different schools they were handled in different ways. And in some schools there were actual classes that were handling them in different ways. And so we brought that to the table, again, because every school is represented. Everyone had something to say about it. And the administration went ahead and did a report on it that we've not been able to hear yet, but Mr. Donati did a lot of work on that and has something to present.
Okay.
It's also other grades that the children have in school, but it's not just limited to grades. I'll let you take over with some of the others.
You know, we've talked about everything from the elimination of kindergarten specials to security concerns and notifications for parents. One of the best stories that has come from PAC is the change in the tone on the Hazleton Area School District announcements.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Latello was kind enough to join us one night, and he was in charge of posting those announcements. And we kind of said, you know, can we make it just a little bit warmer? And ever since then, we've gotten the best announcements coming through.
Okay.
It feels that there's a friendlier connection.
So, did it feel condescending before, or just maybe curt?
Maybe very
okay.
factual, which is absolutely necessary.
Right.
But we had just sort of talked about it as a roundtable. Said, is there any way that we can just take some of the edges off of?
Well, and you also just brought up briefly one issue, which is a big one, I think, and the timeliness of communication to parents. I mean, I was very outspoken on the heels of the norovirus outbreak at Valley Elementary, where my kid goes to school. Listen, nobody, no teacher, no school administrator, the superintendent, nobody wants kids to have norovirus. But the fact is, if they knew about it on Sunday, which apparently they did, per the principal herself telling me she had a conversation with the superintendent, which is fine. I respect that she told me that. If they knew about it Sunday, I don't understand why it took till end of day Tuesday for any official notification to come to parents. We shouldn't have to find out things that affect our kids' health. It wasn't the zombie apocalypse, I know that, but still, we could have contained and controlled differently. There are kids that are on certain medications that if they're vomiting, we have special needs kids that can't risk vomiting and not keeping medications down. That took too long. It was simply mismanaged, and I still don't think there has been appropriate accountability for that. That is my opinion. So that's my example.
Well, it's a great example where communication really could have put a lot of parents' fears, just allayed the fears. It's a short, severe illness that these children went through, and some of them got it more than once as they were going through. And I think what a lot of people would have just been very happy with is, we understand what's going on and we're on it. Just a sentence with fewer than 10 words, I think would have really put a lot of parents at ease.
Right, because the way we sadly found out was by chatter on Facebook among the parents, the PTA Facebook page, and that got a bit heated at points. I mean, one member of the Hazleton Area School Board used the word hype in discussing parental concerns. And I'm sorry, when 60 plus kids have something and 100 kids are out, that's not hype. That's just caring about your kids. And so, I mean, that was a bit condescending. A lot of parents thought so. I was privately messaged by a lot of teachers who were afraid to speak up publicly, but they also thought so. So that's not the way we need to find things out. It's just not. It has to be coming from the schools and fast and frequently.
Sure, because what happens at one school is going to affect everyone else. It turns out that St. John Bosco had to cancel their CCD class. There was a camp counselor that said that many of, if I believe over half of the campers were ill that weekend. So it was an event, so to speak. And when you have little kids, and now it affects all the daycares in the area and the younger siblings.
Right.
And you know, the more parents are on social media, things can build and things do get
and
heated.
the parents get sick too. And listen,
sure,
they've already
sure.
missed a lot of work and had to deal with that. People have jobs. It's a tough economy. There's only so many times you could call in because there's a snow day. Again, nobody can help that.
Right.
But just a little advance notice on things like that. And even, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but even snow alerts. When there's 4 inches of snow outside and this much ice, do we really have to wait till 4 a.m. to make the call? Everybody else has made the call. Let us have the notice as parents to arrange for childcare for the next day.
That was one of the issues actually that came to PAC.
Okay.
And it was from many schools across the area. And so we were able to bring it to the approved administrators who were at our meeting, which at that point was an approved item. And our school board members, which were approved liaisons through the board, also discussed it with us. And it turns out there's quite a big event that has to go on in order for a day to be called.
Well, they do their homework in that capacity too.
Okay.
They really have people out on the streets in McAdoo, in Freeland, in the city, looking at the feasibility of getting the buses down the streets and is it safe, is it not safe? They want to make sure that they absolutely have the best information and are making those best choices for our kids. It's definitely a touchy issue, but at the same time, they have a protocol, they have a procedure that they have in place that they utilize.
We were pretty impressed with the extensiveness that they...
Well, and I will say this, in fairness to the school administrators, I mean, there have been a few times that all the other schools shut down and it turned out there was nothing and Hazleton got it right, and that has happened a few times. So the fact that they delay, yes, but you know, again, when you mostly have dual-parent households working these days, it's just sometimes a little notice. I don't want to keep talking, though. I want to hear more about what parents' issues are. So what else has come up a lot?
Lunchrooms. Lunchrooms are a big issue. Making sure that the kids are eating well, making sure that everybody's safe and behaving appropriately, those sorts of things. We've talked about the PSSAs, talked a little bit about that.
And the new curriculum.
Common Core issues are coming up now. Absolutely.
Talked about
Common Core math, and I have yet to figure it out. Well, I like the word subtraction was just subtraction, not addition slash, I don't know, organic chemistry. I can't quite figure it out.
That is true, but even other issues such as dress code, and even when the metal detectors came through and the use of the metal detectors consistently throughout the entire district, that was a large conversation. And again, it was every school who brought it forth, because we understand, bless these school board members for even doing it. Because,
it's a thankless job.
Oh my
It really
gosh,
is.
they don't go to restaurants.
You run for school board, you're going to be one of the most hated people,
absolutely.
no matter what you do. It's tough. It's a tough,
It's
thankless
very
job.
tough,
Yes.
and they have been wonderful. Our liaisons that were approved to be at our meeting have been fabulously honest and wonderful, and bless them all for being a part of it, because it's issues like this where you have 10 different schools with 10 different items going on, and it's tough to get to the bottom of it.
Well, we're going to have to stop there, take a break. We will be right back on The Storm.
From your first breath to your first roll, Pampers Swaddlers was there. And Swaddlers are available through size 5 for many more firsts to come. Pampers.
Hola, soy el residuo de tus comidas. ¿Cómo no usaste pan? Regresé para quedarme en tus sartenes y contigo para siempre.
Conmigo, no lo creo. Alguien cocinó sin pan. Los sprays de cocina baratos dejan residuos después de su uso. El BAM deja un 99% menos, ayudándote a crear comidas saludables para tu familia. Si es bueno para tu sartén, es bueno para ti.
Is not just a piece of paper.
Absolutely, it shouldn't be. I mean, they wrote it, and now it's time to vote on it. I agree with you. And again, there are too many serious, scary issues in this world today that could affect our children. Parents need to feel that they have a voice and that they will be respected and that they will be heard.
Yes.
I know I'm throwing in my two things as I close because it's beautiful to have your own TV show. You get to vent about things on air. But a couple things I'd like to raise. I would love to see parents at schools stop parking in handicapped spots when they pull into schools just because they're late for parent pickup. Just because you're late doesn't mean you're suddenly disabled. It means go wait somewhere else. It's really irritating. I brought it up on the PTA Facebook page about a year ago. It was taken down because I was told it was controversial. I don't agree. I think the law is the law, and the law isn't controversial. And that's not school policy. It's state policy. It's national policy. I also really would like your organization and others, the PTA as well, to take a look at this policy as related to parents having to require, give doctor's notes for excused absences. A lot of kids see specialists. Parents may not want to divulge who those specialists are. I think they have concerns about privacy. I like the good old days when a parent's saying my kid is sick, that the parent is where the buck stops. So that's me.
Well, Tiffany, when we're back up and running again, you're welcome to come join us for a meeting. Absolutely.
And I will not bring cupcakes. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us so much.
And when you look around and you don't like what you see, don't complain about it, folks. Do something about it. Thank you for watching.